The Roebuck Bay is amazing because there is no other embayment like it in the world where you have such a large number of different marine species. You've got to look at the mudflats themselves. It's a shallow bay with soft sediments, and with the very, very large tides, and when the water rushes out on a large tide, you can see up to 160 square kilometres of mudflats exposed. And what in those mudflats is over 500 species of marine invertebrates, these little crustaceans and worms and molluscs. And migratory shorebirds will travel some 10,000 kilometres from the northern hemisphere. They'll fly all the way to Broome so that they can come here not to breed but to feed on these extraordinary amount of marine invertebrates. And then of course you've got, as I said, there's the seagrass meadows, and you've got the mangrove communities. They're key drivers of life because they're nurseries for fish and many other forms of marine life. And all of these communities attract other marine mammals like turtles and dugong and snubfin dolphins, two other species of dolphins. And you know what you've got here is actually the largest number of Australian snubfin dolphins, which was only found here in 2005. In Roebuck Bay, over 100 animals have been identified so far. So it is an extraordinary bay, and it needs strong protection, which it hasn't really achieved yet. There are a number of threats to Roebuck Bay, and of course as the population of Broome grows, those threats increase. But one of the threats that we're concerned about at present is the Lyngbya blooms that have been occurring since 2005. Each wet season they have been getting worse. So the Roebuck Bay Working Group, funded by Rangelands NRM, have begun a Keep Our Bay Clean project over the last 2 years, and that's to try to educate the Broome community about the need to reduce the amount of pollution that's entering Roebuck Bay and becoming food for the Lyngbya to grow and to bloom.
Well, Lyngbya is a naturally occurring algae, but when the conditions are right, when there's plenty of food and nutrients in the water and plenty of sunshine, it can grow really quickly, and there's end up too much in the bay, and then it has negative effects on the seagrass and the wildlife. So it's killing off the seagrass, and then when there's no seagrass, then the dugongs and turtle won't be there if there's no seagrass there, and there's all this flow-on effects for the wildlife in the bay.
Lyngbya is a naturally occurring marine algae that does occur here, but under certain conditions, when it's fed the right amount of nutrients and say pindan, it can grow and bloom, and that's what's been occurring here. And it's particularly devastating for the seagrass meadows, which are key drivers of marine life in Roebuck Bay, because it sticks to the seagrass and suffocates it, and it doesn't allow the sunlight or the oxygen to reach its delicate leaves, and it has a massive die-off.
Lyngbya looks like long green strands of like hair almost, and yeah, it forms in big clumps, and sometimes can cover the whole beach when it washes up.
Well, there's several steps you can take, and they're not really hard, and I honestly think the community would be very enthusiastic, because everybody wants Roebuck Bay to be healthy and they want to be able to continue eating the seafood and enjoying it. But these tips are, first of all, you could reduce or try growing native plants that belong to Broome, because they don't need fertiliser. You can also reduce the amount of garden waste that can flow into your drains. Try growing less lawn, and if you do need to fertilise your lawn, fertilisers are actually become nutrients for Lyngbya blooms, so try to reduce the amount of fertiliser you're using on your lawn. It's very likely just to flow off into the drains, and it can't be absorbed by the lawn. Then that water can then, with the high level of nutrients, can seep through the grass and into the aquifer that's below Broome, and then that eventually seeps back into Roebuck Bay. It's also important that we reduce the amount of pindan. That's our beautiful orange coloured soil from flowing into Roebuck Bay, and that can be from land clearing, because that, as I said, it contains a high level of iron and some phosphorus, and under the right conditions, when the sun's shining and it's a clear warm day, that can break down and become food for Lyngbya.
All the rubbish that ends up in the drains will end up in the bay, and then leaching chemicals and all sorts of no good stuff. So keep your yard clean, keep the drains clean, pick up your rubbish, throw it in the bin so it gets disposed of correctly and not end up in the bay. If you see rubbish, even if it's not yours, pick it up while you're out there, and it'll be better for everyone else then.
We as a community really do appreciate it and go out there and have a lot of fun on the bay, fishing and bird watching, and we don't want to lose that. We don't want to lose that incredible heritage. So we really do as a community need to look after it to reduce these and prevent these algal blooms from continuing to spread and devastate the biodiversity of the bay.